All right. So, so last class we actually looked at how we can use one of the built-in models to actually secure a specific route, and we looked at the OAuth2 password bearer being an existing class that lives within Fast API, which we can actually make this class a dependency of a route if we intend to actually make a route to be secure or to require authentication. And we simply say that in order to make a route to require an authentication, we simply pass this class as a dependency to that route. And that was where we stopped in our last class. So I'll pull up some few routes and then we'll test that out again. So a quick one. So in the process of setting up this device for this class, we actually discovered that there is an extension that we can actually use within VS Code to test out our API without necessarily leaving VS Code and then going to probably Postman to test that out, right? And the extension is Thunder Client. So you can actually just install this extension and then you can actually use it to make requests, which I've just used it here. So this way, we don't necessarily need to leave VS Code any longer. So I will do this installation on my other device. So on our next class, this is what we'll be using for testing, right? So we don't actually need to leave VS Code any longer. So that's the extension. Now, if you want that, we could as well install that. But if you find Postman convenient, then you can still use Postman as well. So I'll close this off as well. And all right, so then I'll put up come back here and then I'll put out some few routes. So I'll copy this and just make some few routes here. Okay, so sorry, Mark, this problem. I'll copy this and make some few routes. So we have I'll have a route. Sorry, keep. I'll have a route that says all right. So I'll have a route that will take me to my profile, and of course, we know that in order to actually access a profile, right, one has to be authenticated, right? One has to be authenticated. So and so far this we have not actually been authenticated. So we can still access this as it is, and then probably we just return a message saying profile info. So this should be profile info, profile info, right? And then we just leave probably some information here, right here, some information here, right? So at the moment, right, anyone with that can with this route, okay, can actually do what? Access this endpoint, right? And which is not supposed to be so because at the moment there are some endpoint that probably would require you to do what to be authenticated, and one of them could be profile. So that in order for us to know who is accessing this profile, right, we need to actually know who is actually authenticated. So I'll put another one here saying news, right? So we'll also assume that the route news that in order for you to actually see or to actually have access to our news, one has to be authenticated as well. So so now these two routes are routes that we intend to do what to secure, right? Not to allow anyone who will have access except you are authenticated. All right. But then at the moment, we can actually have that. So still work as that can still work without anyone necessarily being authenticated. So that can still work without anyone being authenticated. All right. So and then if we try this, if we actually if we try this out, if we actually try this out, probably we go to our next tab. Why is our next tab not tab? Sick. Okay. one is way to pull this to one corner. All right. Okay, that's perfect. That works well now. All right. So we can actually access that route at the moment. And the route there says that we can go to what to news. So if I go to /news, and then this actually do what we could actually access that route without necessarily being authenticated. So in our previous class, we now said in order to make a specific route to require authentication, that we can use a built-in class that called OAuth2 password bearer. And then how do we do that? We simply make this class a dependency of that particular route. That's where the way the class works is that once a user tries to access a particular endpoint, and then there is no authorization token, right? This will do what we this will automatically let the user know that they are not authenticated. As such, they cannot access the route. So we quickly do that since we've already done that in our previous class. So to import the O2 password bearer, we could simply just say from fast API dot security dot security. You want to go ahead and we import the OAuth to password bearer. We import OAuth to password bearer. Okay, so this is now the class. So what we can now do is what make an instance of this class. So I'll copy this class and create an instance of the class. I'll call this authentication or auth. Okay, I'll call it equals to the instance of this class. So we instantiate this class. And as we saw in our last class, that it is always recommended that this man here takes one required operational argument, which we could see in our terminal down here, the token URL, right? So this is actually required because we need to find a way of obtaining the client. Okay, at this point, we need to do what go to this specific route and do what and get authenticated. So now that token URL is what the client will do what will actually use to actually get to that route to do what to get authenticated, which we will also do that. So now we will specify that here we want what token that I want a token URL. Remember, this URL is a relative path, okay, to be a login. So it means that you have to do what you have to navigate to our domain name / what login, and then go there to do what to get authenticated. Go there and do what and get authenticated. So which we don't have that at the moment, which we do not have that at the moment. So now we have now we'll create an instance of this class. We can make this to be what to be a dependency, right? We can make this to be a dependency. So we simply do what import the depend class, since that's what we actually use for that. So I'll bring in the depends. Excuse me, I'll bring in the depends there, and I'll bring in annotate. So from typing, we want to import that one. Sorry, annotate. Okay. All right. So quickly, we will just carry out that authentication. So now the way this class works is that if that token is available, the class will automatically return that token. If it's not, then it will automatically they will show you not authenticated. So that means once we make this class a dependency, right, we are basically doing what expecting a token from that class if it is available. If it is available. So I will simply make this right to be secure by letting what the OAuth to password bearer to do what to carry out the verification. That to check if a specific request contains that token. So that's why I'm using what token there, because we're expecting a token if available. So and we are expecting this token to be a string and also to be a dependency of the auth class. And that's we've just simply made that route to be secure. So now it means that once the user tries to access this endpoint, what happens is that the O2 password bearer will check if there is what, if that authorization token is what is available, if it is available. So I will just do this and do that. Sorry, because they're using this mark. Okay, so I will simply copy and do the same with this other view as well. So now if we try to do what, to make that same request again to the endpoint, we should now have what, not authenticated. So now we now have what, the not authenticated parameter there. Same thing happens when we try to do what, to access profile. We should also have not authenticated because we require to be authenticated. So you still have the same issue, not authenticated, which is which is exactly what we want. All right. So now we also specify, because this token URL here is basically for documentation. Okay. So now in the documentation, and one will see that that they can go to what, to www. or probably KodeCamp.com/what login to do what, to actually log in to what, to get authenticated, So, but at the moment we do not have that available. At the moment we do not have that available. So we can create that route available so that one can go there and do what, and get logged in. So I will just simply copy again as usual, and Control C this, and then just paste it below right there. All right, and then I will call this login. I will call this login. So this would be login. Okay, login, and I will name this function login as well. So now this function here, we expect you to submit your username and password, assuming that's what we'll be using for authentication. You can use anything you want for your authentication. So right here, I'll be expecting you to do what, to make a post request, not a get request, and I'll be expecting two form data. Right? It depends if you want form data or if you want a JSON object. Okay. If you want form data or if you want a JSON object, let me be sure that I can do form data here. Okay, so we can do form. Okay, so we'll be typing in a form data. Okay, so we'll be expecting a form data. So I could come here and say that I'm expecting your username, and this username should be a form data. So in that case, I'll use what they annotate again. And then I will say I'm expecting a string, and then I'm expecting this to be a form as well. So we import form right up there. So go ahead and we import form. Okay, same thing. I'll do the same thing for password. For password. Sorry, I think that must have, that's too much. Password. Okay, comma, paste that, and this would be password. This would be password. Okay. Now, when we try to now go to login, so we navigate to login. Since we can't actually access any of these routes, so this will help that we do what, that we get authenticated. So to get authenticated, we go to what, to login. So in going to login, we now see that login is what is only accepts post request. So if I try to send a post request now, we now have that we are missing some things, right? The username and what, the password. So I'll simply just put one here. I'll call it the username. I think I'm beginning to like this extension. So I'll call this a sample user at the moment. Sample user, or probably user one. Let's use user one because I'll call it user one. And the field name, I would simply call it password because that's what we're expecting. And I'll call this password 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and we're expecting this password to be a string, remember? So that will be handled as well. So if I go ahead and send this now, this should now go through. Okay. It seems to be taking time, but yeah, hopefully that should get resolved. Okay. Right, so my server is think is hanging at the moment. Server is hanging at the moment. Let's see. How it still works. Right, so I will simply just close the terminal and open it back up again. Open it back up again. Right, so let's bring this man back up again. And we'll just do this. And then I'll change this to command. Alright, so I simply activate my environment saying VNV, sorry, this is Mac, this will be source, VNV bin activate. And we'll simply just run the server again. UVcon, okay, main colon app dash reload. See that one. Okay, so that actually went. So let's make that request again. So that is not still working. Then as temporary the redirecting. It should not temporarily redirect us at all. Okay. All right. Probably this time around we could for this time, let's go ahead and change the port number. So end this one more time. And we'll just simply put that there. Okay, so it's a UVcon. There's a main app dash port. Anytime let's use 8080 dash reload. Okay, so we go back again to our request and let's change this to 800 8080. 8,000 8080 and then send this request again. Still taking time to make the request. It shouldn't be so. Oh, sending a request to 194. Okay, probably. Okay, let's just close one more time. Please, think our dependence. Sorry, our uh, our extension is kind of misbehaving. So I'll close this request file and put it back on again, and then we'll make a new request. So let's see if it works this time around. So this I will call it from main app reload. So we'll just copy this one. And then we go to Thunder Ever. Probably we'll just make a get request first. Let's see that is working for us. And so that actually went through. So let's try back login. Change this to post. Put the necessary field name. We have username. Username would be user1. Password would be 123 for now. 123. Okay, and we'll just make this post request. Let's see. The post request seems not to be working for us here. Okay, post request seems not to be working.
Sorry, I think that issue is with what you are Thunder. I always use it on my own system too, and I always have that same problem with post requests.
Okay, so I think the issue now is from them, not actually from us.
Yes, it's from the Thunder client.
Okay, so I think that actually went through now. Yeah, so I think the extension is having a bit of issues. But let's just see if we just manage it for this class alone, just for this class. So that went through. And basically what happens is that, okay, so let's just continue, okay? Let's continue. That the login did went through though. For some reason that I don't know why, but it did went through. Okay, so all right, so what we're actually expecting, okay, because the whole purpose of coming to authenticate is that so we do what? So we get authorization token, right? So basically, we want to return a token at the end of this login, probably some token, and the type is going to be bearer. Now, this type is just to let the client know that that they have to put bearer before this token. All right. So it's just a way of letting them know that this particular kind of authentication is a bearer kind of authentication where you have to put bearer before the token itself. Right. So basically at the end of this, because that's what we intend to do to return. So of course this is what we are intending to return. Now it's time for us to do what to carry out the actual token and as well as the rest of them. So first of all, we don't just want to do what to send out a token. First of all, we want to be sure that this user is what exists in our database, right? We want to make sure that these people with this name, right, and this password do exist in our database. And well, the thing is that we just create a fake database for now. I'll just call this a fake DB. So we're gonna use in-memory, okay? And you know that if every record in a database has every record in a database has a primary key. So in this case, probably I would or usually or by convention, I would want to use the username as what as primary key. So it means that I don't expect another user to have to bear the same username. Okay, so that will make it what my own primary key. You can choose to use ID, you can choose to use whatever you want to use. But in this case, I'll be using username. So we create a couple of record. I'll call this user one. User one that has the following records. Okay, where username of user one, where username is user one. Okay, user one. And user is very likely going to have some other name like full name and rest of the thing. But I won't really want to actually go through all of that. I won't actually want to go through all of that. So, but what I want to actually focus is the hashed password, because the thing is that you wouldn't want to do what to save the user's actual password in your database, because that is risky, because the moment an intruder has access to your database, they can simply do what? Have access to your customer's password, and they can go through their account. So basically, you want to have some hash keys and all that, but don't worry, we'll use a library for that hashing, right? We use a library for that, so we don't have to manually do that. So this one here is just for a demo sake. So we can also have like full name and rest of those things that you see fit. Okay, so we have another record, and probably this record I'll call it user 2. So I'll copy and I'll just paste here. And this one here would be user 2 with the username user 2 and some hashed password and so on and so forth. Okay, so we'll use that. Okay, we'll assume that to be what we will actually do what use. So what we can do is basically what we want to do is to do what to find out if these people are what are actually authenticated in the actual process. Sorry, if these credentials are actually existing in our database. So we can actually write all our code, because but then if you navigate to fast API documentation, they kind of make this code in modules. So they put them in different functions, separate functions. So there are a lot of functions for authentication. You can do that if you want. But for the purpose of this class, I'll just put everything in here except otherwise where we see need to do what to group a specific functionality, right? But for now, I just write out everything here. But then if you navigate to fast API documentation, these things are being grouped into different functions, making the whole thing kind of messy and stuff like that. Okay, so I will simply do what just check that these people actually do exist in our database. So basically, what I want to do is yeah, I want to try to do what to get if I want to try and do and check if a specific if the specific user exists in our database. So first of all, I want to check if the username actually exists, because if the username actually exists, then that means we can do what we can get the hash password. So I simply just check if username, okay, this username that we're actually getting here, right, actually exists. So I'll say if username in fake DB, right, fake DB. So basically, what this will check is that it will go through all the keys in that dictionary. But this is a dictionary at the moment. So we're using the keys as what as kind of the primary key, right, for that database. So it will go through and check, and so this will return true if that particular username is a key in that dictionary. I return false if it's not there. So this though we're not using the actual database, okay, but this concept will also work with the actual database, just few customization. When we go there, we will do that. But then I want us to follow up with this concept. Right? So what the primary thing is also is for us to know what to understand the concept. So what we're checking is that if username is what is in the database that we have up there, if it's there, then basically just want to do what to return to actually if it's there, then we basically want to return the user. Or probably we could as well just yes, if it's there, then we want to actually okay, but we want to check that if it's not there. Okay, so if it's not there, because if it's there, then want to actually carry out the authentication as well. So what we want to check now, if user is not actually there, okay, then we want to raise an exception. So we can actually raise an exception. We can actually raise an exception, or probably just return something. Probably we will just return a message saying, well, we could say status would be error. But basically, you want to do what? You want to use an exception, the standard exception in Fast API to return this. But for this particular purpose, I will just return a message. So I would say that the status is error, and the details of it is because Result is because invalid username at the moment. Invalid username. Okay, but if it's available, so if it's available, then that message won't sorry about that. That message won't even execute in the first place. All right, so if you go back again and let's try let's try a wrong username. You change it to user 4, which we don't have, and then make a request. And we have what invalid username. That's perfect. So going back again, now, if for any reason this code actually gets to that particular to line 31 at the moment, so it means that that username actually exists, right? So it means that that username actually exists, and what we could now do is to verify the password. So to verify that the password that is being sent actually matches the hashed one that we have in our database, which we will do that as well. So basically, what we want to do is probably we will have a function that can verify this if we want. So we can have a function that can actually verify this, or we could just maybe I'll put a hash sign here, verify password. So verify password. The verify password at the moment here was verify username. Here was verify username. Verify user name. So at the moment we don't have the function that hashes the password, so you cannot even actually verify the hash password. But we'll come back and do that. So I will leave that as it is. So basically, at the moment, what we want to do is to carry out write some code to do what code to verify password. Okay, so we can't actually write that code now because we manually did what we manually just put some random hash password there, some random thing there as hash password. Okay, but we'll come back and then we use a standard library to do what to hash and also verify hash. Okay, but that will be the next step that we will likely do. Then after that has been done, and those two people actually exist, then the next thing we want to do is to create, because it means that if you are coming in here to authenticate, right, it simply means that your token has either expired or you don't even have, right? And then any of whichever the case is, then they need to do what to create a new token, right? So the next thing is also do was to create a new token, create a new token, right? To create a new token. Because at the moment, it means that the token has probably expired, or or you don't have token in the first place, right? So or you didn't have token in the first place. So I also put code to do what to create token, which you do that as well. Code to create token, code to create token, and the user that should own this. So basically, we create the token alongside with the user that should actually own that token. And then at the end of it all, we do what we basically return that token. So at this moment, I will just say return. We will use the username as well as the token. So in this case, I will just go here, return this man, and then the bearer here should be what should be type. Sorry, this should be not username, but the F string of username. So assume this to be our token at the moment. All right, so now if the user should now have to come here for authentication after inserting their username. If they have a wrong username, then we have what the appropriate error there. But if they have probably user one, then we have what the user as token, the user one as token, and the bearer as and the bearer as the type. So it simply means that let me go ahead and make a new request. Put this one up there. So now it simply means that that the user can actually go ahead and use this token, because that is the whole purpose here. To do what, to use this token for to access some route that one could not actually access, right? Which is one of that route is what is one of that routes is the news route, which at the moment, if we try to, we do not. But since we've actually which we will actually do it, which we will actually carry out those authentication. But so now what we can now do is once we return this once we return this, then the user can actually use that as what as their authorization token. So now it basically means that in order for them to access a route like this, then what they have to do is to provide a header parameter that has what that has a key that is called authorization, and then the value should start with what should start with bearer with capital B. This the client knows how to actually handle that, but that is how it should be. Start with bearer because we've told the client that what this is what a bearer token. So it means that when sending this token, that bearer should be included and then followed by space and then followed by what the token is, which in this case here, the token what is here is what is username one. So we copy this username one. This is just for testing. We actually can add that actual token and verification as well. So we press that username one here now. That should be username, user one. And then I can do what? I can now make a GET request to this man and I'll now have access to that. Now that's because what? That's because I have been able to do what to get this token. And then at some point, this token should do what should expire. So we don't just we create a token and also set expiration date, expiration time. Right. That's what that. So we will carry out these two things, and then we should be up and running. Question before we start before we dive deep into that. Is there any question? Any question? Any question? The silence means no question. Right. So well, our device is running low. Okay, and well, whatever the case may be, you still continue. Whereby ends. Okay. So now having known this process, and let's do one. Let's carry out this actual process. Okay, so let's carry out this actual process. So the thing is that in order to even verify a token, in order to even have a hash password, it means that during the process of signing up, that you must have done what hash this password, that you must have hashed this password, and we are gonna just simply hashed one a library called using a library called Parsley, right? Using a library called Parsley, and you could actually just install that, okay, by saying pip install Parsley. Then, but Parsley has so many schemes for what for hashing. So you want to use a specific scheme called bcrypt, okay, but then there are other scheme that can be used. But if you want to install the full scheme, then you can actually just say pip install Parsley. But in this particular course, I just want to focus on bcrypt. Let me save and end. Okay, so to do that, to do this, we simply just say pip install. So this should be pretty installed. This should actually come pre-installed by fast API. But if it's not, then you just simply just have to do that. Pip install Parsley and then bcrypt. Then bcrypt. So this should be wrapped in parentheses. It should be. And then click on enter. You may have installed. No, we don't want to do that. So that will do what that will install this library for you. And in the same speed, we just simply just install JW token as well. Okay, JW JSON web token. So to do that, we just say pip install JWT. And that is just that. That will actually get JW2 installed for us. That will get the JWT installed for us. So do that pip installed. Repeat installed JWT. And that will get that installed for us as well. Okay. So while that is actually getting installed, all right. So basically, you could also create a sign up. So let us make so let's make this kind of like a full working application. So let's have a sign up, okay? That let's have a sign up that would actually do the hashing for us, all right? That will actually do the hashing for us. So let's make this to be dynamic a little. Okay, let's make it to be dynamic a little. All right, so this will call the sign up. Sign up, and the name here should be sign up as well. Sign up as well. And then what we want to do is what we now want to actually do here is to expect username and password as user. And then this time around, we're not checking if it's there in the username. Okay, so want to check now if it's actually there. If it's there, then we want to actually just let you know that that username already exists. So we don't want to add or we don't want to create an account with that username. So this will be username already exists. Okay, already exists. Okay, but in a situation where it's not actually where it's not where it does not actually exist at the moment, then then we want to do what we want to proceed to do what to creating the account. So this will be to do what to create the create user account, user account. All right. So in this case, when I mean create user account, I'm basically just saying let us just go ahead and let's just go ahead and let's go ahead and just simply add to a dictionary because at the moment we just want to do what just want to add to the dictionary. Okay. So so what we want to do is we want to create have to add to a dictionary. We could simply just call a dictionary name, which in this case what is fake DB, and they want to give it a key. Want to give it a key, and this key you want to call it user, not user two, but then user three. Okay, for instance, and then user three should have the following records where this will be username, and username should now be what the username the person just typed in. Yeah, username should just type in. So in this case, this shouldn't be user three. Let's just put this as username. So we will paste that. Oh, no, sorry. This should be username, and username should now be username here in this case. Then we have the password. So this is where it gets tricky. So this is where we got this is where we sorry not where it gets tricky, but where we actually do the password itself, the password verification itself. So let's see how we can hash this. Let's see how we can actually get this hashed. All right, so to actually hash a password, we we will just simply use the hash itself. So the way Parsley works is that it works with context, with context. Right. So now that we have this installed, let's put back our server up and running again. So we just going to reload the server. And then what we want to do is we want to actually get this to be installed at the moment. Get this to be installed. So we can do that by, after that has been installed, then we can simply just import this here. So to import this, we simply say from password lib, from pass lib, sorry, not password, pass lib, from pass lib dot context, right? So context is more like a way where we can provide additional configuration for how to add the password. And configuration like you can configure that if the algorithm you wish to use the if the hashing should actually make use of old scheme and the rest of them. So there are a lot of configuration you can actually add with the context. So that's why we're actually bringing that in. So that if we see need to pass additional configuration, we can just do that. So from password lib, then we want from password lib.context, we want to actually import crypt context. So we import crypt context. Okay. So this will help us to carry out this hashing. So at this point, let's just come inside here and then let's see how we can do that. So what you want to do now is to define the configuration that you wish to use. So up here, I could just come up here and just say password hash configuration or hashing config. Okay. Because password. So I'll shorten this password. It's too long. I'll use pwd password hash config. That so this is going to be like the configuration that we intend to do what to use. So in this case, I could just say using the crypt context. Okay. The script context takes in a lot of things, right? You could see from the hint up there. So the required one is what is the scheme. The scheme is more like which of the algorithm do you wish to use for the hashing, right? Which of the algorithm do you wish to use for the hashing? So that is the required one. The rest are just additional configuration. So in this case, I could just put schemes here, and then this scheme is a list. So you can pass more than one algorithm, right? But in this case, we only installed just one algorithm, which was bcrypt. So we just say bcrypt, and then I'll add additional configuration by saying that also use or also make reference to old algorithm if need be. So that will be duplicated equals to auto. So the auto should come in quote auto. So that's more like an additional configuration. But then the main thing here is what is your scheme. This is what you'll be using for the hashing. And that is what you'll be using for the hashing. All right. So now that we have that configuration, then we can just simply use the hash and hash this man. So we'll copy this and then come down to our sign up. And then within our sign up, before we even add the password to the created account, we want to do what we want to hash that. So we can simply say the configuration that we've just done dot hash, right? Dot hash. And then within this, we can simply just pass the password that we want to do what to hash, right? So basically what you want to do is you pass in the string that you want to hash, which in this case is our password. So I'll just pass in the user password that they just typed in, and that will do what that will hash that, and then I will just call this I'll call this hashed password. The hash password should be equal to that. So to add this again, then I'll just say hash password. So copy this man, come here and say after hashing, Then you want to go ahead and just put the hash password here. Copy and paste it down here. And that is that. That is that with our sign up. Do you have any question? Since I'm talking alone, any question? Is there any question? Do we understand? Okay. All right. So I assume that we do what that we understand. All right. So we can actually just print this out and let's just see how this will look. So after creating, we want to actually return the username alongside with what with the hashed password. Let's just see how the hashed password will look like. So the password now will now be a hashed one, not the actual one that text. So this will be hashed password, hashed password. Okay, so let's just go to sign up and let's see if that actually works. So we will make a new request again. New request, come back. Pull this one up somewhere. Up there. So this is thought we made a new request. New request, and then this one here would be going to not to news though, but this one will be going to probably just change this to sign up though, not sign up, and then we will pass in that, and then we make our post request. Okay, so that has happened again. I think what we did was I just made some changes in the file, and that had to work at some point. Okay, so we all go back again, and we make another post request to that sign up. But this time, I think without the header. The header is not there. So, yeah, so that is happening again. Don't know why. That is happening again. Make a get request. Let's see. Make a post request. Let's see. Okay, so I think we're having our post request problem as well. Okay, I don't know. Is anyone that can verify that what we've done so far is working just fine? Is anyone that's close to their postman? That Mitope Zinon. Any of you close to your postman? Are we even here at all?
I'm not. I'm not. Turn on my laptop.
All right, let's see. This will still work again. For some reason, this is not working. And to see this one and reload this thing. Let's see if this works. It's still not working. Still not working. It's not working. Still not working. All right. Okay, let's see. Oh boy, okay, let's see. Okay, let's try that again. Temporary redirecting. What is it redirecting to? So I think we just close up everything and then probably carry this up again. So we close this one. And then we just close this off. So we put that one. Then we make this a post request. Make this body form username, and then I'll call this user3, and then password. I'll call this 123. 123. And finger crossed, this should now work. Expected. Probably just end the server and bring it back up. So this should work hopefully. All right. Oops. Still having the same issues. So this requests. Right, so probably I'll just leave that up for us to test and expect, but that should work as expected. Right, so now that we've actually be saved to the database, what we could probably now do is probably verify the hashed password. Verify the hashed password. And we could do that by simply just using the same, almost the same method again. So we will just particularly check that this is that. So situation where so let's see. So the verify will basically just tell us the same thing. So we just do the same thing, but this time we're going to say if not, what we want to do now is if not, it's a hashed pass, what no, hash pass, password hashing config. If not hashing function config, then what we want to do, dot verify. So the verify will basically return a boolean value of true or false. Okay, so if we verify that what you just typed is equivalent to the hash version, then that would be okay. So now what we can then do is this. So you want to check that we want to make sure that what you are typing, like what you just typed, that's your password. And your password matches. So the verify takes into two strings, all right? First of all is the plain text, and the second one is the hashed text. All right. So the second one is the hash text. So you could basically so now the plain text says what is the password that you're typing in order to actually get logged in. While the second argument is the hash one, which at the moment we assume that is what is being saved in the database. All right. So if so now what we can do now is so if the user actually do exist, then what we want to do is to get their hashed password. Is to get their hashed password. And to get their hash password, we could simply just go ahead and get the user. Sorry, this should be a fake DB at the moment. Sorry, fake DB, and then we get the details of the user that owns this username. So we copy this, and probably just paste it here, and we'll call this user details at the moment. User details, user underscore details. Okay, and then once we've gotten that user details, then we could simply just get the password. So the hash password here, this point now, hashed password would now be equals the user details of want to get user hashed password. So what we want to get hashed password of that specific user. So we copy, and then we paste it down here. So where's the control do? And then we pass this hash password for verification. And then if no, that is if I thought this try to actually run this verification and it returns false, meaning that it's not actually so, then we also want to return this. Then we also want to return an error message, right? Saying that invalid password. That this way we can let the user know where the mistake is coming from, if it's from their username or if it's from their password. So if after this we've finally gotten the user and the user is active, then what we want to do is to basically create the token now. What we want to basically do is to create the token. All right. So if this is not actually returned or this is not actually returned, then it simply means that the user details that we just fetched is what is accurate. It's actually accurate. So now if I want to do what, create the verification token and do what, send it out for the user. But before we step into that, do we have question? Question. Do you understand what is going on here? Do we understand what is going on here? Are we active, or most of us have just joined the call and went to cook?
The concept is so it's taking time for me to comprehend.
Alright, okay. So I forget that that's voice. So I didn't really get what she said, but I believe that she understand what is happening here. All right. So now that we have that, now we need to do what? Now we need to create token, and then to create this token, we could just randomly create any token, okay? But then we wouldn't want to do that. We want a situation where we use JWT, JSON Web Token, for this, because JSON Web Token will encode will encode the data and send you a token, such that we can decode that token and do what, and get the available data, right? So that we can decode that token and get the available information, right? So let's get this up and running. So let's see how we can actually make use of JWT for this. So at the moment, we've already installed JWT. Let's confirm that. Let's confirm that. Say pip installed. So this should be PyJWT. Sorry, this should be PyJWT. So I just put PyJWT today. Sorry. So we have that. We have this installed, and then once we have that installed, we simply just import it and do what, and get to use them. and get to actually use it. So now the thing here is this, all right? The thing here is this. The way JWT works is that it takes two required parameter. The rest are additional configuration, right? So the required parameter are basically your payload and your encryption key, right? Your signature, right? Your encryption signature. That's what it takes, all right? So then it takes that in as the required parameter. The rest are optional, right? The rest are optional. So we can add other parameters like the algorithm and probably the expiration date, because the thing is that by default, your token should not span forever. All right, it shouldn't span forever. At some point, which it should get. At some point, we should be able to do what to. At some point, we should be able to log you out, right, or deny you some access to route after, excuse me, after a certain period of time. So we're gonna see how we can use JWT to actually create this token. All right, so let's see this. Let's see how we can do this. So first of all, we need to import what the JWT itself. So we need to bring that into the picture by simply saying pip installed. Sorry, not pip install. Sorry, import JWT, please. Import JWT. Import JWT. Right, JWT. Okay, so and like I said, we are things that is required for us to do what to work with JWT. So we just define these key things. All right. So first of all, we need the signature, right? As probably you can call it the secret key. Right. So this is the key that JWT will do what we use to do what to encode your information. Right. So this key should only be known to you. At this point, I will just probably just put something like 1, 2, 3, and then save your. Okay, but then you don't want to do this, right? You can actually randomize a. You can actually use Python to create a random long string, because the thing is that your secret key should be long, right? So the security gets heightened, right? And then your secret key should not be known unto to other people, right? But at the moment, we are just using this for demonstration. I wouldn't if I'm deploying a left app application, I will not use this as my secret key, right? I can never use this as my, but for the purpose of this class, we use that as our secret key. So that is actually required, right? And then also the payload is also required. The payload is like the information you want to do what to encode, right? Which information are we encoding? Of course, it will be the user information, right? The user information, so that once we decode the token, we can do what we can get the actual user that owns what this specific token. Does that make sense? So I'll just list out some required parameters, right? So at the moment, it's just our secret key, but then I want to add other parameters, right? It's not actually necessary, but I always say that it adds more information to your JWT token, right? So your JWT. Okay. So I want to add algorithm. You can add it, you can leave it as well. So I'll add algorithm. So I'm defining these things here once in the entire page, so I don't have to be repeating these things over and over again. So I'm just defining them up here, so I can use them whenever I want. Okay, so there are a lot of algorithms that JWT actually accepts. You can actually look that up. Well, there are many of them. Okay, so but for this particular class, we just want to use H. You don't really have to know how this algorithm works behind the scene, but then you just actually just list them out, and then JWT will do what will do the mathematical encoding, right? You don't have to actually know that, but then it would be nice if you actually want to actually know that. But then for now, we have no business on how that encoding will be worked. But then what you have to know is that there are a lot of algorithms that we can do what specify, and JWT will use that algorithm for what for the encoding, right? For the encoding of the information of the payload. All right. So in this particular for this class, I want to use the HS 256 algorithm, right? 256 algorithm for this. Okay, this is more like the default algorithm. So if you don't specify, this is the default one that JWT will always use. But then if you don't want this default one, you can always specify the one, whichever one you want. And then I also want to make sure that this might actually expire, because in actual sense, your token should always expire over a period of time. So access token expiration minute. I'll call this expiration minute. Expire minute. So I want in this particular case, I want this to expire after 30 minutes, right? So after 30 minutes, you should be required to log in again after 30 minutes. But in your own case, you may actually want to extend it for weeks, probably a month. After a month, you have to do what, actually log in again. It's all dependent on you. But for this, I'm just going to leave that as it is. Right? I'm just going to leave that as it is. Right, so the next thing now is to do what is to create this token, right? Is to create this token. Is to create this token. So I will do that by so to actually create a token, it is quite easy. It's quite easy. So what I want to do now is this. To create the token. Now you can also write a function that does this outside of your route function. But like I said, I intend to put everything here, right? Which is not a best practice, but for the purpose of understanding, so we don't actually have to write a lot of tokens. Sorry, a lot of function that tends to want to complicate things. But then if you understand the logic and the flow of how this works, then you can section or you can group a certain code into certain functions and then make your code to be what neater. Right. So in this case, I will have some parameters, right? I'll have some parameters. One of them is the parameter that the payload or the payload. You can call it the payload, or you can call it the item to be encoded, or anything you want to call it, right? But in this case, I'll just call this payload, right? I'll call this payload. I'll call this payload, all right? And the payload here is basically the user details. The user details, which in this case I wouldn't want to. So the payload by default is usually a dictionary, right? It's usually a dictionary. That's the type, right? So the payload is expected that your payload is a dictionary. So what we have here, this user details there is definitely what a dictionary that we have in our database. So, but then I don't want to also encode hash password. But I just want to encode the username, because from username I can get the user details itself. So my payload in this case would be just username, and then the username itself, That is the only thing I intend to do, was to encode. But that is the only thing I intend to encode. So I can also add another thing again. Right? I can also add another thing, the expiration and the rest of them. So now to create this token, it's easy. We simply just use jwt.encode, and that is that. So jwt.encode, and that is that. So you have JWT imported already. So we just say jwt.encode, and then within this the encode is a function, and then this encode takes in, like I said, two required parameters. What the information you want to encode, right? The algorithm, sorry, your secret key, that is your signature, what are you using to encode these things, and every other thing is what is optional. So we'll just try with let's start with the required things first, and then we come back and then put the optional aspect of them. So first of all, we provide the payload. So remember, the payload here has to be what, a dictionary. So that is the information we want to know what we want to hide, right? And then our secret key, which in this case we've already defined one up there. So that is what JWT will use to encrypt this man. So we can use that to actually decode. Okay. So those are the two required things, right? Those are the two required things that we actually want to actually encode. So and then this function here, the encode function will do what? We return a web token, right? A web JSON, a JSON web token, right? So you can just assign this operation to what the variable called token. because that is the end that is the end result of this encoding. It will be a token, right? It will definitely be what a token. So we can just simply return. So it is this token that we want to be sending out each time you actually get logged in. So in this case, I will just return, instead of returning the username, I return what the token. So the token is quite long, which we will see. Hopefully, hopefully our newfound extension will help us make this post request. So and that is that, right? That is just that about security. Nothing really much about that. The sign up and the login has been done successfully. So let's go ahead and give it a try one more time. Hopefully this thing works this time around. So we put a sign up there. So let's send this request again, and it's still not working. Still not working. All right, so this is what we will do, right? This is what we will do. This is what we will do. I will leave this code with us, and I want us to test this out and let us know in the group that this is actually working as it should. But at the moment, there's no way we can actually test that, and already we are already out of time. So, Rep, I believe you are still active. Please let me know that you are still active, and then that you have this code with you. Are you active and you have this code with you? That right?
For me, no, I've not been coding because I'm lost from the last class.
You're lost from the last class?
Yes. You're going to upload the video before this class, but you didn't.
Okay, so I think I actually did a brief summary of what we did in our last class. Okay, okay, let's see. Who was there? Who amongst us was in our last class? Timitope, were you there? Stay with us, or Temi has left us behind. So it seems Temi has left us behind. Right, so I will just how do we do this? Right, probably we'll just continue from there in our next class. So I'll leave it as it is. In our next class, we'll just wrap it up completely and then move to what we have for that class. Right, so but we are done with security with just those few lines of code. And in the next class, we will dust it completely and then get it to work as expected. All right, so while you're waiting for the videos to be uploaded, the videos will be uploaded as is when ready. Right, please do well to catch up so we can be on the same page. And at the same time, please let your people know that it is of their own benefit that they should do their tasks and they submit their tasks. Right, so I will go. After this class, I'm going to go and grade everybody that is left. Right, I'm going to put that are left, and then it is necessary that they should do this task because the reason for that is that we have our 4 weeks of lectures left. All right, after 4 weeks, you guys will be given a month to work on a project, a capstone project. That project will involve you guys to work with other teams, like the front end engineer, the UI, UX, and the rest of them. Right, so you guys will be put in team and do what and to work and come up with a working product, right? So so you guys work in team, put head together and come up with a working product. But then you can't be in that team if you're not in the final stage. And the final task that will be given to be pointed to the final stage is going to be very strict, right? So it's only people that that have submitted that final task before the deadline will be given access to join the final stage and go and work on what the capstone project. And if you don't work on the capstone project, no certification, please. Please pass this information to them. That it is mentioned that it is for their own good, not my own good, for their own good that they do their task and they submit it on time.
Okay, sir.
And then one more thing, in the meantime, for those of us that are still delaying, please that they have room to be able to complete those tasks. But in whatever they do, they should complete those tasks and then try as much as they can to make sure that at the very last task that will promote them to the last stage, that they must submit that last task before that deadline. Because the last task, there will be no regrading, there will be no extension of deadline. Please, it's for their own good. Then one more thing, there will be additional tax again for next promotion. So this night the tax will be dropped. So also pass that impression to them as well. So for those of them that are still in their previous tax, that they should try their best to do what to complete the previous tax and get to complete the new tax as well. And so that everybody could be on the same page, so that they won't be rushing when you have about 1 or 2 weeks left to the final tax. Please.
Okay, sir.
All right. So in the absence of anything, please do have a wonderful good night rest, and I'll see you guys on Tuesday. Bye for now.
Bye.